Today we have a special episode number 120. This time we will host one of the best-known Tolkien scholars, author, and podcasters, Dr. Sara Brown. As we all know, we are analyzing the Council of Elrond, and we will focus on a few key themes we observe in this chapter. Hello, my name is Maciej, and I would like to welcome you to the charming Green Dragon Inn. Normally in our podcast, I prepare and tell you about interesting stories from Professor Tolkien's texts, as we analyze them together with my co-host.
Hi, I'm Kasia, and in addition to discussing parts of the books together, I support Maciek linguistically, especially when we discuss Tolkien's original writing, or talk in English, as we do today. I also take care of the technical side of our podcast.
Hello, my name is Ola and I manage the social media of our podcast. Today, I will be joining Maciek and Kasia as a co-host to welcome our very special guest arriving at our inn from very far, far away.
The last member of our team is Nikodem, who is responsible for all the audio editing. The Green Dragon Inn is a friendly place for all travelers. Here you will be able to wander together with us through the immensely rich works of Professor John Ronald Reuel Tolkien. Because we analyze his text a few paragraphs at a time in each episode. We delve into the history, interesting facts, and some humor. We also compare our native Polish translation of the professor's work with each other or to the original text.
In our conversations, we rely heavily on already existing material, which forms a very sizable Tolkien's collection. That is the base of books on which we focus when preparing each episode. However, everything is done in a very inn-like manner, as a loose and casual conversation between us and sometimes between our special guests who regularly visit the inn.
If you want to learn more about our podcast, we encourage you to check out episode number 0 or the trailer. There we talk a bit about ourselves and above all about the very form, inspiration and goals of our podcasting. Take a seat in our inn under the Green Dragon, prepare yourself a pint of a good drink, and we begin our today's journey to Middle-earth.
Our guest in today's episode is someone very involved in Tolkien studies. He holds a master's degree in history, economics and politics from the London School of Economics and PhD in literature from the University of Salford. She is chair of faculty and director of the Graduate Studies program at Signum University, and she serves also as head of the Department of Language and Literature as well.
She is also a lecturer and co-teaches courses with Corey Olsen, Verlant Lear, Douglas Anderson, and Dimitra Fimi. She has written and presented numerous articles and lectures at Tolkien's conventions in Europe and the US. She is a member of the Tolkien Society and currently serves on the editorial board of that organization's magazine Malorn.
She also hosts and stars as a guest on numerous well-known podcasts such as The Tolkien Experience, Prancing Pony Podcast, The Rings of Power Wrap-Up, and Rings and Rituals. Her articles have won the Tolkien Society Award 2 years in a row, in 2023 for All That Glisters Is Not Gold, and 2024 winner for her article The Tale of Aldarion and Erendis.
Dear listeners, please welcome Dr. Sara Brown.
Dzień dobry. Dziękuję za zaproszenie.
Oh,
wow.
that is surprise. That is surprise.
It wasn't planned.
That was so good and unexpected. Wow.
Great.
It took me all day to practice that, by the way, so I hope it came out okay.
Yeah, it was great.
We really appreciate it. It was great.
Yeah, it's really great to have you. Thank you for
thank you
taking
so
the
much
invitation.
for asking me to be here. It's lovely to be invited. Thank you.
Have you ever visited Poland?
I have not. And my friend Faith Acker keeps telling me I must because it's her favorite place to go on holiday. So
that's lovely.
One day.
One day.
Hopefully, yeah.
One day.
Great. Okay. In the introduction, we didn't mention your current work quite deliberately because the first question we'd like to hear from you what we can expect next and when. And personally, I'm most interested in the Oxford Handbook of J.R. Tolkien. Can you tell us more about this?
I can. This is a really exciting new book that's going to come out, we hope, around the end of 2026. So do look out for it. And it's literally what it says. It's going to be a handbook on Tolkien, which will introduce all sorts of ideas about Tolkien. And I say introduce and also give the reader places to go to find more on any topic that they really are interested in. So the handbook is going to be divided into 4 sections. Part 1 is called Contexts and Lives. So obviously that's looking at biographical detail, First World War, contextual detail, all that sort of thing. Part 2 is called Worlds, and that's focusing on Tolkien's world building and the way in which he was moving through a creative process over a very long period of time. Part 3 is Approaches and Territories. And the people writing in this part, my part, is where the authors are applying critical and theoretical concepts to Tolkien's creative process and offering possible interpretations. And finally, part 4 is Legacies. And that's looking at what influence Tolkien has had and what came after him. So my chapter is within the Approaches and Territory section, and this will come as no surprise to anybody who knows me. It's on feminist criticism of Tolkien's work.
Oh, I love it.
So the whole chapter is on the history and the now and the possible future of feminist readings of Tolkien's work. That was quite a lot to pack into a 6,000-word chapter. But it does look at what has changed since the very earliest readings, going back to the mid-1950s and into the early 1960s, and looking at what readers and scholars then were saying, particularly about female presence within the text of The Lord of the Rings. And of course, with the change in ideas about feminism itself, that brings change in feminist criticism. So as feminist ideas change, then the ways in which we read a book through the optics of feminist criticism will change alongside that. So it's really interesting to track the differences between those early readings and then into like the 1990s, for example, which I'm very well aware none of you lived through, and then into right up into the 2020s and looking at the differences between those. But you've got a lot to look forward to in this book. There are the best Tolkien scholars currently working have chapters in this book. And I believe there's like 40 chapters in this book.
Yeah. And what is
it's
it like?
Be amazing.
What is like the style? Is it more like academic or when it comes to the writing?
I'm hoping that it's going to hit that balance between academic and accessible. So that although it will offer the possibility of reading very academically, if that's what you want, it's also going to have the kind of style that will appeal to those who just want to know a little bit more. So that's the balance that we're all trying to find with this book.
That's great.
And I'm confident it will.
Accessible.
Great.
It's important that it's accessible. Yeah.
And can you tell us who else is involved in this chapters? So some names maybe, because I know about you. I know about Professor Dr. Larsen as well. Yes,
my sister from another mister.
Yes, but that's all I know. So maybe you can tell us a little bit more. It is official. But can you officially say it or not?
Not yet, because the book is currently, everything is written. It's currently with the publishers who are putting it through their own review process. Once it comes out of that, then the two editors, who are Luke Shelton and Dimitra Fimi, they will be the ones to put out the huge information about what's coming in the book. But I would be looking for that in early 2026. And they will be able to tell you far more details about it than I can.
Yeah, thank you for the heads up.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, there's so much to look forward to in 2026 then.
Yeah, we're also getting, I don't know if you are aware, Sarah, but now the History of Middle-earth is translated into Polish.
That's great.
Yeah, and now we are getting which part? The Treason of Isengard.
Treason of Isengard,
yes. So it will be also early
January
26. And it's a huge work from Polish publishers and translators, because in Poland we have free translations of Lord of the Rings. So there are, and especially with all the language plays that are described in the history, it's not that easy to translate.
Yeah.
No, I can't imagine that it is.
Yeah,
and of course, every translator has their own style, their own particular interest, their own expression. And so that's how you end up with so many different translations of the same book. And those translations will all read slightly differently, I would have thought.
Yeah. So that is keeping the Polish fandom of Tolkien excited for some time now. All the translations.
Really
but also, History of Middle-earth is a really difficult book to translate, because there are many details in language, and shown by Christopher, and it's really hard to translate. Yeah, so
all those little notes by Christopher and stuff like that would be really hard. Yeah,
and I didn't check, but I must. How many countries have History of Middle-earth to the own English language translate? I don't know. I think there are only 4 or 5, something like that.
Yeah, not many.
I don't know. It's not enough. I do know that. It would be nice if it was accessible to everybody who wants to access it without the necessity of being really proficient in English.
Yes.
It would be nice if everybody could access it.
Yes, it was also, when I read first time, it was very difficult to me because I am not super fluent in English. So, so it was hard. I was reading and rereading and it took a lot of time.
I love how you say you're not super proficient in English. You heard my one attempt at Polish, right?
Yeah, but
I think your English is very much better than my Polish.
Polish is also
but I prepared a little longer than you to say your Polish words. So. It was longer than one evening, so maybe that's fine.
All right, I think we can move to our long tradition we have at our inn of asking our first-time guests 5 simple questions to find out a bit more about their connection to Tolkien's word. And we are very curious about your answers, Sarah. So, Maciej, go ahead.
Yeah, traditionally, first question is mine. So, for how long have you been reading Tolkien's books? Also, the books about Tolkien, so everything.
Oh, well, when I was 9 years old, my dad gave me his copy of The Lord of the Rings off his shelf. For a number of reasons. One, I was this ridiculous child who wouldn't take her nose out of a book ever. And I would just eat books up. And I think his idea was to keep his daughter quiet for a little while with a nice, big, chunky book. And I loved it. And I've loved it ever since. But it's interesting because I read The Lord of the Rings first. And it was only after The Lord of the Rings that I thought, I wonder if the library has any more books by this fella. And they said, well, yes, here's The Hobbit. And I read that and thought, I think I preferred The Lord of the Rings, actually. And it took me a long time to work out why. And then when I was about 11, I read The Silmarillion.
It's very early,
very young age for this.
Yeah. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I understood everything, because I didn't. But the reason why I still enjoyed it is because at that age I was really into mythology. I loved Greek mythology, Roman mythology, Northern land mythology, Icelandic mythology, you name it. I was really taking that in. And so I read the Silmarillion as the mythology of Middle-earth. And because I came at it from that perspective, I actually really enjoyed the stories. But of course, it was many years before I fully understood what the Silmarillion is really trying to do. And of course, the fact that it's really not just Tolkien's work, that it is put together by his son, it is edited by his son, and therefore so many of the choices are by his son, that it's a different book to what Tolkien, I think, would have preferred, if he could have, to have published for himself. But hey, we're lucky to get what we've got. But that kind of answers that first part of the question. I mean, I am mumble many years older than 9. So I have been reading
your whole life.
I have been reading The Lord of the Rings for a very, very, very long time. In fact, the longest break I took from reading The Lord of the Rings, and this might sound a bit strange, is when I finished my PhD, because my PhD was on Tolkien. I didn't touch The Lord of the Rings again for 2 years. because I was done. My brain was just
that's
melted.
a fair break. So.
Yeah. But then I was able to return to it, and all was then well. But I managed to teach classes at Signum in that time without picking up the Lord of the Rings again. And that's because it was burned on my brain. So yes, it took another 2 years before I picked the book up again.
That's amazing.
For books about Tolkien, I wish my camera was pointed this way. I have a wall of bookcases, of which the vast majority is books about Tolkien. I mean, I have all the History of Middle-earth series. More than one copy of the History of Middle-earth series, because why not? I have multiple copies of The Lord of the Rings, The Hobbit, The Silmarillion. Obviously, I have the poetry books because I've been teaching classes on that. I have all of the Tales from the Perilous Realm. I've got Father Christmas, you name it. I've got all the ones written by him, including Finn and Hengist and Monsters and Critics and all that kind of thing. But I have a large portion of shelf devoted to all the books by Verlin Flieger, for example. Yeah.
We have as well, all five, actually. So
why wouldn't you? Including her brand new one that only came out a few months ago.
Yes, we have also.
Yeah, and I have loads of wonderful critical collections, monographs. One of the reasons why I have so many is because when I did my PhD, I was older and working. I was a wife and a mother, and I had a job as a teacher, and I was doing the PhD part-time. Don't recommend. But I also lived a very long way away from my university. I did as much as possible remotely. That was quite a long time ago, before remote was really a thing. And I would only go into the university once a month and visit the library once a month. So if there was something that I wanted or needed, then I kind of had to get it myself.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the reasons why I have massive bookshelves. But it's really handy now, because if I'm working on something, I think, I think I have that book. And yes, I have that book.
It's awesome.
Great.
So that will be a good follow-up to one of my questions after, or the introduction. But let's now do the second one. Do you have a favorite quote or saying from Tolkien's works?
I do. And it's not one of the ones that people naturally go to. Things like "Not all who wander are lost," which is a great quote, or, all we have to decide is what to do with the time that is given us. Which
I knew that you would go with that one as the second one. Yeah.
Yes. Mine is a little bit different. And it comes about because I'm not religious at all. In fact, I would describe myself as an atheist. So one of the things I really like about Tolkien is the way in which he approaches the concept of death, because he does that quite a lot. Yeah. And so here is my favorite quote, is kind of split into two, because the first part of it comes in the chapter Fog on the Barrow Downs, when Frodo has a dream vision of a song that seemed to come like a pale light behind a grey rain curtain, and growing stronger to turn the veil all to glass and silver, until at last it was rolled back, and a far green country opened before him under a swift sunrise. And then when he sails from the Grey Havens, after he's completed his quest and he's going into the west for healing, it kind of picks up on that. It seemed to him that, as in his dream in the house of Bombadil, the grey rain curtain turned all to silver glass and was rolled back, and he beheld white shores, and beyond them a far green country under a swift sunrise.
That is so beautiful.
I find that
beautiful.
So beautiful.
Yeah.
Like I said, as a non-Christian, those of us who are atheists have to find our own meaning around life and death, and have to find our own way through that. And I wouldn't mind at all if in the last second of my life I saw a far green country under a swift sunrise. That would be just about perfect.
Yeah, great.
Couldn't agree more. Yes. That left us speechless. It's so beautiful.
Yeah.
But that's why I choose that one, because it really resonates with me.
Yeah,
it is
great.
incredible. Well, thank you for sharing that with us. That's amazing.
Literally my pleasure.
Okay, and the next question is from me. So, which place or places in the whole Legendarium would you choose for your retirement, and why?
Oh, do you know, this did not take me long to decide when I looked at that question. Rivendell.
Rivendell, yeah.
Classic.
It would absolutely be Rivendell for so many reasons. Elrond has a massive library. Who doesn't want that? Then there's the Hall of Fire, where you sit around a fire and you read and you speak with people, or you don't if you don't feel like speaking to people, because I don't always. And I like sitting in a corner and reading by myself next to a roaring fire with, like a glass of wine and a plate of bread and cheese. That sounds like heaven.
But as example, in the chapter Many Meetings, they gave Bilbo only water and bread, nothing more. So maybe I don't know how they use.
I'm pretty sure I could charm Uncle Elrond out of a little bit more than that. A bit of cheese to go with that bread, Elrond. But it is described so beautifully and so compellingly. It is a place of respite, healing, of even in these later stages of the Third Age, 60 years after The Hobbit, when things are going a bit rough on the outside, it is still a place of quiet. Even though things, like I said, are going on the outside, there's still this sense of place to breathe. That's what I'm going for. It's no wonder to me that Bilbo said, I'm going to retire and I'm heading for Rivendell, because I would absolutely do the same.
I agree. I think it was also my answer, wasn't it? I also picked Rivendell when I was as a guest on the episode many, many months ago.
Oh, well, I'll see you there, but I should probably get there about 20, 30 years before you, so I'll keep space.
For me, it was a bit more adventurous, because we had one of our guests, her idea was to do the canoeing on Anduin, like the trip. And so for me, it would be also the adventurous one, like horse riding through Rohan. That would be
okay.
My answer was Tom Bombadil's house in the middle of nowhere, and only with my wife and nothing, no one else.
I wouldn't bear his singing all the time. Elf singing, but Tom,
yes, I'd be yelling at my poor husband, will you stop speaking in iambic pentameter, for goodness sake? But I mean, if you're looking for a place of peace and calm, and Kasia, wait till you get a bit older and a bit closer to retirement, you might change your mind.
We'll see. But that's possible. Great. Now back to the books. I guess we wanted to, and you already hinted to us that you have many books, but how many exactly do you know? Do you have
hundreds
in your collection?
Literally hundreds. I glanced over my enormous bookcase today and thought, I'm not counting those. So many. No, honestly, not to joke about it, but I have many, many, many shelves of books by Tolkien and about Tolkien. Some of them are books to be stroked gently only.
Yeah.
Because they're beautiful.
We know that.
Right. Yes, exactly. Some of them are reading copies. Like, I still have my dad's copy of The Lord of the Rings that he gave me when I was 9. But he died 17 years ago, and I took the book off his shelf for me. And it means a lot to me because it was my dad's, and it was the first copy I ever read. So that's a precious possession, even though it's a little bit beaten up. But I have my own reading copy of The Lord of the Rings, and that's a paperback copy that got me through my PhD. And it looks absolutely wrecked. It looks like it's been through a fight with 10 enormous people whose only object is to beat this thing into the ground. But it's a well-loved paperback copy because of what I did with it. Ditto to a paperback copy of The Silmarillion and one of The Hobbit. They are beaten up. I have a paperback copy of The Letters that, again, beaten up. But I have beautiful copies of all of those. I'm very lucky. I have wonderful copies of all of those books as well, that some of them I take down and, oh, look at this is so beautiful. And some of them I just gently a finger down the spine every now and then to remind it that I'm here, that sort of thing. So there's a real combination between working books and books of sensational beauty that are there to be admired and never touched by anyone else unless I give them express permission.
Sounds like a perfect collection then.
Yep.
Exactly. But many of them are working books. My books of scholarship are working books, you know, so they come down off the shelves quite often and find themselves down here on my desk with me poring over them.
Lovely. Okay, and the last question from our introductory questions. If you could choose one character to go on a quest to Mount Doom to destroy, or at least try to destroy the One Ring, who would it be and why?
It would be Luthien.
Ooh.
That was my choice too. Oh my goodness.
That was your
we
choice
will be hanging out in Rivendell.
Oh, look, you and I are clearly separated at birth, Ola. Luthien, because she is just amazingly powerful.
Yeah.
Why would I not take somebody who stood in front of Morgoth and faced him down to take and stand in front of Sauron, who is lesser? Yeah, I'm taking Luthien.
And she already she already
did, yeah.
She already did with Sauron. Yeah, she beat Sauron.
She did, yes. Yeah. She made him run away.
Exactly.
I like that. To me, if you could reach into the distant past, it would be absolutely Luthien. She combines power with intelligence and with courage. She's one of those female characters I hold up when someone says to me, "Oh, Tolkien can't write women." Have you met Luthien? She wants a word. Yeah. So it would have to be Luthien, because I think I'd be safest standing right behind her.
Yeah, absolutely. And it would be nice to take Juan with you as well, as you know.
Yes.
Right? Perfect trip to Mod.
And Baron, because maybe she will be more powerful with Baron.
He can carry the bags.
He could.
Yeah, he can make himself useful, can't he?
Juan is enough. Okay. Yeah, great. That's a great answer. Okay. So now let's take a short break and we will move to the main discussion after.
Now it's time for our self-advertising, because at the beginning of this season, we have launched a profile on Patronite.
This means that every one of you can financially support our activities from now on. Consider if you're willing and able to join the group of our patrons. We offer you quite a lot in return, starting with a dedicated Discord channel, additional materials, or the opportunity to join us during the recordings as a listener, and various gadgets and gifts.
So, we invite you to join us on Patronite. Your support will help us not only maintain the level of the podcast, but rise it even higher. You will find links to our Patronite on our website. They will also be visible on YouTube and in other media.
But of course, you don't have to do anything, because the podcast will continue to appear in the same forum as before, absolutely for free. After all, we are Tolkien fans, and we create out of pure passion.
We invite you to our Instagram and Facebook, where we regularly upload posts extending current episodes. Meanwhile, on our website, you will find links to all episodes, along with footnotes and our library of books that we use to create the podcast.
We also encourage you to support us on all the channels where you follow us. Your likes, ratings, or reviews make us more visible. This means more Tolkien fans joining our in.
And as a result, we have more interesting discussions, so don't hesitate to ask questions and comment.
Okay, so let's go to the main discussion. As all you know, our listeners know that we are now analyzing the Council of Elrond, and this chapter is amazing, actually, and very difficult, but still there is something that we want to ask Sara at the beginning, because we have already analyzed in our podcast The Hobbit. We have analyzed book 1 of Lord of the Rings. We are now at the beginning of book 2, and actually woman characters are in Hobbit there was no one. actually no one. In Lord of the Rings, book 1, there was only Lobelia, Sackville Baggins, and Goldberry, and actually that's it. Question is, did Tolkien mention this? Did it was deliberately by Tolkien written like that, or it was something that Tolkien felt on, or how do you think? Why there are no women still now, and if they are, they play actually marginal role.
Well, you're not wrong that in The Hobbit and in the earliest part of The Lord of the Rings, women play only peripheral, marginal roles. That is quite true. I'm not aware of anywhere that Tolkien wrote down anything like, I deliberately wrote it this way because. Honestly, I think he just wrote the story the way he saw the story. And in doing that, in a lot of ways, he was putting together a quest story with characters that he felt he could know. A lot of the female characters, not all of them, but a lot of them are drawn from historical ideals. So by the time we get to Éowyn, of course, she's kind of a Valkyrie figure, for example. Yeah. Galadriel speaks back to, kind of goddess imagery from ages past. But what we do have is we have in the margins, and they are very much in the margins to start off with, is we have Lobelia Sackville Baggins, who, by the way, I love as a character. Yeah. I really do. I think she's misunderstood, but also so strong and so brave. And underappreciated, I think.
Yes. Yeah.
We have, of course, Mrs. Maggot. She is there as well. We do have Goldberry, as you mentioned. We get Galadriel in book 2, by the way, so we only have to get as far as book 2 to find one of the most powerful female figures in the Legendarium.
We also had Goldberry, right?
Well, Goldberry is not nothing. That's for sure.
Yeah.
As to why this is, I don't have a really simple answer to that. Because again, there's nothing to point to that says, okay, here is where Tolkien wrote, he was writing an all boys story. And of course, this was one of the early criticisms of The Lord of the Rings by people like Edwin Muir. Who said that it was a boy's own story, and they were all teenage boys, and they were really underdeveloped and emotionally immature. I think it's a bit harsh. Aragorn, everybody.
Yeah.
But also, Tolkien was also writing what he knew. Many of the stories that he was really into were stories of heroes, and all these heroes were men. I'm not going to excuse him, by the way. I really dislike this idea of, we can't criticize Tolkien. He was a man of his time, because that's a nonsense. Yes, of course he was a man of his time, but in his time, there were things happening. There was the rise of feminism. There was an increase in what women could do, like vote, like own property. All these sorts of things were happening during his lifetime. All sorts of things that he wasn't unaware of these things. He wasn't living in a bubble. Yeah. So I'm not excusing him. What I am saying is that we also don't want to take it the other way and say, Tolkien couldn't write good female characters, because that is also nonsense.
Yes, exactly.
His female characters tend to be, unless they're peripheral, like Mrs. Maggot, like Lobelia, they tend to be immensely powerful. Shelob, female character, incredibly powerful. Éowyn, Galadriel, Luthien, Melian, all sorts of, I could go on and on and on. The female characters that come into it, even go back to the Tale of Turin, Morwen. His mother is a really important character, very, very strong character. So,
and Idril, daughter of Turgon as well.
Idril Celebrimbor, who pretty much saved the people of Gondolin
by
because
herself.
Daddy wouldn't listen to her.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm also wondering, is the reason just the timing of the writing? Because some of those characters were, so Tolkien created them after the first books were, like the first chapters were written, or they were somewhere, but they weren't yet in the story, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely the case with Galadriel. Right. Yeah. He stumbles over her and thinks, well, what am I going to do with this character now? Because that's very much his way of creating, is it kind of finds things out as he goes. And sometimes he finds something out, and that means he's got to go back and rewrite something to make that thing fit. That's one of the things he had to do with Galadriel, because as soon as he came across her and understood who she was, he then had to return to all his Silmarillion writing and put her in there somewhere, because she was far too important in the Lord of the Rings and in the figure that she's presenting to not have her somehow be a major presence in the early Legendarium. So again, I don't want to excuse him, because do I think that we could have had stronger female characters? We could have had more female characters, perhaps. But it is what it is. And the book itself, the whole book, does offer us some very interesting female characters to look at. I mean, for example, here's one that you might think is a very peripheral character, and it's Yoreth. Yes, actually, she's incredibly important. Gandalf acknowledges as much, that she is very important, because she has an understanding of medicine that in some ways is more valuable than the doctor's. Because his level is over here, and hers is of the earth and the history of medicine. And, you know, those kinds of things are what Gandalf needed in that moment. So he does have a tendency to bring in great female characters just when we need them.
Absolutely.
But you mentioned Galadriel, and you mentioned that Tolkien invited her after this chapter, for example. My question is why he didn't red pen and put her into the council, because she is main character, actually. She is a member of White Council. So in the Council of Elrond, there was mentioned that Saruman is member of White Council, Círdan and Elrond as well, and Gandalf, but they didn't mention Galadriel in this chapter. So my question is, did he forget to red pen her into the chapter, into the Council of Elrond? How do you think?
Okay, it's going to be a slightly complicated answer to this. And the first and most simple bit is that the council was not a planned or invited or formally summoned event. It was an impromptu assembly of various individuals who had all arrived in Rivendell by chance, if chance you call it, for their own reasons, all of which coincidentally related to the One Ring. And we know that because of what Elrond says. He says, the ring, what shall we do with the ring, the least of all rings, the trifle that Sauron fancies, that is the doom that we must deem. And here's the bit. That is the purpose for which you are called hither. Called, I say, though I have not called you to me, strangers from distant lands. You are come and here met in the very nick of time, by chance as it may seem. Yet it is not so. Believe me rather that it is so ordered that we who sit here and none others must now find counsel for the peril of the world. In other words, this is providence. This is Ilúvatar's hand at work in who it is that arrives here. But it isn't an invitation meeting. Otherwise, Saruman would have been invited, because until Gandalf got there and said, Saruman, not so great, Elrond would have assumed that they would invite Saruman.
Oh, that would be an awkward meeting.
Wouldn't it, though? Can you imagine that? He walks in and Gandalf goes,
Hi.
Yeah, so that's one thing. The meeting itself is only called shortly after Frodo and the ring arrive in Rivendell.
Yes.
And so it gathers only those who are physically present at the time. And the journey from Lothlorien to Rivendell would have taken quite a lot of time. And that makes it logistically impossible for Galadriel and Celeborn to attend on not just short notice, but no notice. The other thing is that Galadriel's power as ruler and bearer of one of the 3 elven rings, her power was used to protect and sustain Lothlorien. She needed to keep it hidden and safe from Sauron, and she therefore very rarely left her realm during this age because her presence was crucial to the defense of Lothlorien. So there's true. That. Yeah. And then the final thing I want to remind people of is that actually Galadriel is pretty well represented at the council. Elrond is her son-in-law. Arwen is her granddaughter, and she is there in Rivendell, although not actually present in the council itself. And Galadriel and Elrond had many ways of communicating.
Yeah.
So, you know, I know that Elrond doesn't exactly have to pick up a cell phone and say, hey, you know, texting you what happened here. But they were able to communicate very effectively between Rivendell and Lothlorien. So, in fact, we hear that he sends messages out to Lothlorien immediately afterwards. So she didn't need to be there. Could she have been there? Logistically, no. Would it have made a difference if she was there? Possibly not.
Yeah, this is what I want. This is what I wanted to ask. Do you think something would change if she was there? Also, if Arwen was there, if we are talking about the absence of emails,
they're obviously going to bring their own perspectives to it. But in the end, would the decision have changed? No. And I'm sure we will talk about that far more in a few minutes when we talk more about what goes on in the Council of Elrond. But no, I don't think that the decision would fundamentally have changed. Already at the Council, they have some of the wisest people in Middle-earth.
Yeah.
There to not only counsel those who are there, but to fill in all of that background knowledge. It's one of the reasons why the Council of Elrond is my favorite chapter, actually.
This is also what we wanted to ask. How do you feel about this chapter?
Yeah.
So,
love it. I know it's been described as the world's longest board meeting and all that kind of thing. But come on, anybody who loves those little extra nuggets of information that we get in the Council of Elrond, why wouldn't you love the Council of Elrond?
Yeah.
But here's the thing. I mean, remember this. If you had picked up this book in 1954, when it was first published,
yes,
you would have known absolutely nothing about so many things that Elrond just drops into the conversation. You know, things about Turin. Who's Turin? and why would Frodo be counted amongst the mighty like Turin? We know nothing about him. So many other things that are dropped in there that are what Professor Michael Drout calls textual ruins.
Yes.
Things from outside of this moment that unless you read The Lord of the Rings after you have access to the Silmarillion, you know nothing about it. And the vast majority of people actually do read The Lord of the Rings before they read the Silmarillion, if they read the Silmarillion at all.
Also, appendixes explain many things, and when you read book 1, actually, so this chapter, you don't know what is written in appendixes. So
no, exactly, because the appendices come with the publication of The Return of the King, which is not for another year.
Yeah.
So again, what you would be required to do then is go all the way back and reread.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure some people did do. I'm also sure other people didn't do. Would it have been interesting to have had Galadriel there? Of course. Absolutely. It's a very white male meeting, isn't it? Yeah. Yes, absolutely. But in the end, I don't think the decision would have been any different. So perhaps, you know, we balance the things off with that.
That's a great insight. Goodness. It's fascinating to listen to. Thank you.
And now going, Maciek, can I take your question?
Yeah.
So maybe going,
Take
I said, to the Council of Elrond, because I was looking at your article, All That Glisters Is Not Gold, and here for context, you argue that the One Ring is not really gold, because gold represents this spiritual purity, and the ring is actually not pure; it's corrupted. And the Council of Elrond, everyone argues about what the ring is, what it can do, how it can be used, can we use it? And do you think that the council and people and dwarves and elves really understand what the ring is, or they misunderstand the conception?
Yes and no.
Okay. Great answer.
It depends.
Right? Yeah. Oh, I'm leaving now. I'm just leaving you with that answer. Okay. So
like elves do,
no camp.
Yeah, like elves, exactly.
Yes, exactly. In the no camp are Gandalf and Elrond. I am pretty sure that at least Gandalf and probably also Elrond understood quite a lot about the nature of the ring and what it would be, and understood what would need to be done. In the probably didn't understand it so well camp would be the others, because why would they? For some of them, for most of them, it's the first time they've heard about this thing actually existing. So why would they know about it? But part of the Council of Elrond, part of what Elrond and Gandalf are doing here is to give the free peoples represented here in the council the understanding so that they can make a choice, make a decision. Gandalf is there to give counsel, not to dominate and make the decisions for all the peoples who are gathered there. I mean, Gandalf and Elrond are probably the two leading experts in that world on the One Ring who aren't actually bad guys. And just because they know what needs to be done, it doesn't mean that everyone else is going to know or agree. But being described as some of the wisest persons in Middle-earth, they would surely consider the possibility that there are roads that they might not have contemplated, and therefore counsel is the way to go. And in fact, destroying the ring by casting it into the cracks of doom, it's not immediately clear to everybody that that's the best course of action, is it? The debate between them acknowledges the danger of sending the ring into Mordor. Yeah. Because quite aside from Mount Doom being right inside Mordor, there would be a need to travel secretly.
And so one cannot simply walk into Mordor, as we all
yes,
know.
Thank you, Boromir, for that lovely line. He's not wrong. You would need to travel secretly so that Sauron wouldn't be aware of what was happening. I don't think that Sauron would have thought someone was coming to destroy the ring, because Sauron, filled with hubris, would never think that that would be a possibility. But, you know, if he knew the ring was coming to him, then he would be assuming that he was just about to get his ring back. I mean, Mordor is very heavily defended. Any army that Sauron can call on is not going to be a fun army to stand against. Getting the ring there is a huge logistical gamble, right? So it's not immediately obvious to absolutely everybody in this council that that is what you must do with it. Slim odds of getting it through Mordor. If you fail, the ring goes straight into Sauron's hands. And that's before you even consider the possibility, which they don't really, of what influence the ring might have on the bearer. So the council spends time discussing whether there is a way to keep Sauron from getting the ring by sending it away, or, you know, throwing it in the sea or something like that. But it's only after they understand that Sauron is eventually going to conquer all of Middle-earth, really with or without the ring, that they settle on destroying it. Because if the free people of Middle-earth could indefinitely hold off Sauron, that might be enough to just keep Sauron from getting it back. But that is not a possibility. At some point, he's going to, you know, come after everybody. So the whole purpose of this council is to take everybody to a position where they no longer don't understand what the ring is and what it could do. You can't use it, not yourself. There's only one true owner of the ring. You can't simply destroy it. I mean, you've got that rather silly scene in the film where Gimli tries to hit it with an axe. You know, real Gimli would not do that. But we know that there is only one way now that the ring can be destroyed. And that is not exactly an easy thing to do. So the presence of Gandalf and Elrond is for those who understand the nature of the ring to explain the nature of the ring to the rest of the council so they get it. Because otherwise they wouldn't get it. They would just think, oh, this is a weapon. Maybe we can use it.
Yeah,
or,
like Boromir. Yeah.
Also,
exactly.
thinking, since you mentioned the two camps, the yes and no camp, I'm thinking where actually Frodo was. Was he already like in the middle? Was he already understanding more than others, experiencing what he experienced during the travel? Because I think he probably understood more what this thing is, but he probably couldn't put it into words or like sort it out. Why is that?
I mean, I think you're absolutely right about that. It's noticeable that Frodo is silent for the vast majority of the meeting, and he only speaks up when he says, okay, I'll take it.
Yeah.
But there's a wonderful paragraph before that where the description, and I don't have the paragraph in front of me, so I'm paraphrasing, where the description is of him feeling that sense of weight and heaviness and wishing he could just, go back home or take a holiday. This is not what he wants to do, but he feels an inevitability. And it's at that moment that he speaks up. And yes, I think that Frodo, of everybody sitting there who didn't know about the power of the ring, he's going to understand the most because he's already damaged. He's already been severely hurt by being the ring bearer. Almost died, of course.
Yeah.
So knowing that and then hearing what Gandalf and Elrond have to say and still speaking up and saying, you will take it. That's extraordinary courage.
Getting emotional about Frodo. I love him so much.
That's why Elrond call him...
that he will be counted amongst the great.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
Turin.
That's what I want to say. Like Turin and all others, Húrin and everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so,
because it is extraordinary courage for this little hobbit who's already nearly died to say, okay, well, I'll be the one to take it.
And he completely don't understand where he must go and what the journey will be. But I think he already felt that this will be a journey that can end his life completely. Whatever happens, although he win or not, this will be end for his life in Middle-earth. I think he knows that already.
There is no there and back again.
Yeah, there is no back again.
Yeah.
There is no back again.
Yeah, I always found it interesting that the Hobbit is subtitled There and Back Again because it's only there and back again in a sense, in that Bilbo goes there and he does return to the Shire, but when he returns, his home is not the same. The Shire is not the same for him. He is not the same.
He's not the same.
So you don't really go there and back again, do you?
Yeah. Or you just cannot go back to, a home that you once knew.
Yeah.
Okay. Ola, next question is yours.
It's mine. Okay. So that's slightly another topic, but still around Rivendell and Council of Elrond, because suppose we read Tolkien's books in the order they were published. So how could we explain the rather significant differences between Rivendell in The Hobbit and Rivendell in The Lord of the Rings? What do you think?
Well, I think there's a lot of reasons for that. And you're right, they are significant differences. One of the reasons, I think, is that it's due to Tolkien's own evolving vision of Middle-earth, the way in which Middle-earth itself was developing as he began the sequel, which he began almost immediately after the publication of The Hobbit, of course. Yeah. But there's also different narrative styles and different perspectives in these two books. So if we break that down, The Hobbit, of course, was initially written as a relatively light-hearted, not totally, because there's, death and destruction and mayhem in it, a children's story. It was not meant as an epic fantasy prequel. Yeah. The elves in The Hobbit are presented a little bit more like traditional European fair folk. They're merry, they're singing, somewhat mischievous, a lot of tra-la-la-lallying going on. Yeah. But when Tolkien started writing his sequel, it's interesting that he almost immediately transitioned into a far more serious story. Because his vision of Middle-earth was expanding into a more complex and ancient world with a deeper mythology and a deeper lore. And this was connecting with his own background work on what would eventually become the Silmarillion. So the elves of the Lord of the Rings reflect those of the Silmarillion. Noble, ancient, often sorrowful, rich history. So Rivendell's role deepens from this comfortable and welcoming stopover point into a vital sanctuary of learning, a strategic refuge against Sauron. And I think we should also consider the different narrative perspectives. Bilbo, of course, the narrator of The Hobbit, a simple hobbit. Yes, more educated perhaps than your average, but still his description of his journey focuses on a lot on his comforts and practicalities.
Yes.
Food, rest, his environment, how he's getting from here to there, how he deals with things that happens to him on the way. The elves he encounters seem more light-hearted to him because he's experiencing their hospitality in a time of relative peace before the War of the Ring escalates. So he sees Rivendell through the perspective of someone who doesn't think the world is about to collapse into Sauron's lap, because he doesn't know anything about that. But the narrative in The Lord of the Rings is immediately more serious and more aware of looming darkness. The characters, especially Frodo, become quickly tuned in to the gravity of the situation. Chapter 2, The Shadow of the Past.
Yes.
We go straight into it. We say a farewell to Bilbo in chapter 1. Off you pop, Bilbo, to your well-deserved retirement in Rivendell. See you in a little bit. But chapter 2 is all about, okay, Frodo, sit down. This is serious.
Yeah.
Okay. So it doesn't take long before Frodo understands that he's not just being left a pretty piece of jewelry, that this is a problem. And so when he gets to Rivendell, it's a very different approach to Rivendell for Frodo than it is for Bilbo. Bilbo is like, ooh, elves, tra-la-la-lally, way down in the valley. This is fun. Frodo has nearly died. When he first arrives in Rivendell, he's in a coma, essentially. So
3 days, yeah.
Yes. So his perception of Rivendell is, of course, going to be different. And so the description of Rivendell and what happens there will reflect this more serious tone and a deeper historical context. So that's why I think they're different.
Okay. But I have a follow-up question. Do you think it was possible that, for example, in the chapter Many Meetings, after Frodo and Bilbo goes to the bedroom of Bilbo's bedroom, was it possible that the elves that left there, they were still in the Hall of Fire, would they sing Tra-la-la-lallies still? Is it possible?
Possible. Depends on how much wine they've had.
Yeah. And even such elves like Gildo, Glorfindel, or Elrond, is it possible? I think, why not?
I would love that visual of Glorfindel and Elrond doing the polka down the Hall of Fire. I like to think that even though it's more serious, and that the world is changing and the time of the elves is absolutely coming to an end, that the elves have this rich history to draw on, and that includes the serious and sad songs and the more light-hearted songs around the fire when they just want to cheer each other up. So why not a bit of tra-la-la-lally? Because things are going to be bad, so we might as well tra-la-la-lally right now. Maybe. I think that's a great headcanon anyway.
Okay.
What a great life approach.
Exactly.
And you mentioned the Shadow of the Past chapter as well. So Shadow of the Past and Council of Elrond, those two chapters are giving us so much information, and especially Council of Elrond is so much about remembering what happened, what was then passed to the next generations. And we also mentioned that Tolkien wrote like in a very this flow, artistic or creative flow manner. And I'm thinking how planned was that? Because it's such big part of narrative and world building. So was it a intentional tool to put when writing? So we have this big meeting, and now we will introduce those 100 of different terms and the histories, or did it just happen? What do you think?
That's actually a really complicated question, because a lot of what Tolkien wrote, he discovered as he was writing. But if we understand, which most people do now, that the central, most important theme of The Lord of the Rings is loss, that memory must play a part then in that theme of loss. And I think with both The Shadow of the Past and The Council of Elrond, the reason why we get all of that information is because we, like the hobbits, know nothing at all. And the hobbits are our access to everything Middle-earth. And the elves, and Gandalf, because he's been around a very, very long time too, the elves are repositories of memory. They remember so much. Think how old Elrond is. You know, when he mentions Turin, that's because he remembers Turin. He remembers being around when the stories of Turin would be told. He was around at the time of so many things happening that are part of the dim and distant past. And so the elves sing their songs, and they have their libraries, and they tell their tales, and they have master lore keepers like Elrond, who has such a long memory that he can draw on all of that and come to an understanding about what's going on in the now because of it. It's why elves don't have statues. They don't need statues. They remember everybody anyway, remember everything. So I think that what we get with those chapters is, alongside Frodo, because it's mostly from Frodo's perspective, is we get the same access he gets to these immense repositories of memory, with Gandalf telling him what he tells him in The Shadow of the Past, with Elrond and Gandalf and others telling of what they know in the Council of Elrond. And we access it at exactly the same time as Frodo does. And it teaches us the same sort of things as it teaches Frodo. One, yes, about all that information, but also that there are peoples in this world who know all of this because many of them lived it. They've been around that long. And that gives us a whole new dimension of understanding of the Middle Earth when you stop and think about just how old Elrond is. So I don't know if that answers your question.
It's that answers my question. Thank you. I'm thinking also, because we are not writers here, us three, and we don't really study literature. So I'm thinking, if I'm a writer, I need to introduce this part of the story. This kind of chapters feels like a good tool to do that. Yes. But I read a lot of fantasy, and I think what Tolkien did is like a masterpiece in this, to make a meeting that is interesting to read. Because of course in other series, there's always some history to be introduced in a story, in a book. But this is done in a so appealing way to the reader as well.
Because every fantasy author who has sub-created their own world has to find a way of telling the reader about that world. And there are lots of different ways of doing it, but holding a meeting like that in which people stand up and speak
without any action, actually, so there's nothing happening.
Exactly. I had a student in one of my classes once who worked for a publisher, and he said something fascinating. He said that in the 2020s, because it was a few years ago, the chances of somebody getting a book like The Lord of the Rings published as is would be almost zero. It just wouldn't happen because it starts too slow and too flat. It takes far too long to get to any action. You have this enormous meeting where people stand up and tell you all about the history. And it goes on and on and on. And somebody in the editing suite would go, well, not this, not this, not this, move this up. And it would be unrecognizable. I'm rather glad that didn't happen to the Lord of the Rings. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
But it was a very interesting conversation I had with this student. And he was absolutely decisive on it. He said, nope, it would not get published today.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
We are lucky. Yeah. Ola.
Yeah, sorry,
really
just
are.
Nowadays, when people discuss literature and like even book media and stuff, they always say that, the author should show, not tell, because then it's more appealing and interesting. But what Tolkien did, he did the tell instead of show in the Council of Elrond, but it still works because it's just so fascinating to read. So that's like a success that I think no other author could ever repeat.
You have to be very, very good to do the tell, not show, and not bore your reader.
Yes, absolutely.
You have to really be pulling them into this world that you are creating. And all the telling that you are doing must be highly significant, really important to what's about to happen.
Yeah.
But that's why most authors will not do that because that takes an incredible skill. Tolkien is a highly skilled writer, far more so than I think sometimes he's given credit for.
But
that's one of the things that I think an editor these days would put a red pen right through that and say, nope, you've got to find a different way.
Stamp.
Yes.
Yes. We are lucky that writer Alwyn didn't do that. So he accepted and exactly.
Absolutely.
Right. Do you guys have any more questions about the Council of Elrond, or? Because I do have at least one more question. Going back to just female characters and women, because it's like focus of your work and very fascinating. We mentioned all those amazing female characters, and I wonder if you have one from the whole Legendarium that resonates with you personally the most.
It's Éowyn. That's a very simple question for me to answer because it's Éowyn and always has been Éowyn.
Okay.
I see so much in her that is complex and valuable and interesting and has so much to say to women of 2025. Never mind of, 1940, whatever, when she was first being written. She is an incredible character because she has her weaknesses and she has her strengths. And she does something that is totally unexpected. And her bravery is incredible, but she also has problems. And these problems have been caused by what is happening in her world and the way she is being treated, mainly by the men around her who either misunderstand her or ignore her. I mean, the wonderful speech that Gandalf gives Éomer in the Houses of Healing, when Éomer's like, well, why is she here? I don't understand. And Gandalf is like, my dude, you have no clue what she has been through. And he gives her a paragraph of, this is what has been happening to Éowyn. And I can just picture Éomer's face going, really? I never thought of that. Well, of course you didn't, you do first. You were off on your horse practicing your sword stuff and, all the things that Éowyn wanted to do. And the conversation she has with Aragorn, which is so painful for me to read because it's that howl of frustration of women down the decades that you are the ones who are preventing me from being who I want to be.
Exactly, yeah. That
society is standing in my way. Why? Because I'm female? That's it? And it's agonizing to read because of it. And I think part of her attraction to Aragorn is this desire to glom onto somebody who could get her out of that situation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because he is, as Faramir says, high, puissant, He is, magnificent.
Mm-hmm.
He is the king. She wants to
just break free from this life.
She wants to be next to him, and it would help her break free of where she is.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that. And then there's those wonderful scenes in the Houses of Healing and afterwards with Faramir in The Steward of the King as well. And it's her actually coming to terms with the world as it is now, but also with herself.
Yeah.
Because I've always read Éowyn in those early moments with Faramir as struggling with depression, not knowing what to do now, because she left Rohan with one purpose: to die in battle. That's it.
Yeah.
And when you become that nihilistic, and that is your only focus, and you don't do that, it feels like yet another failure.
Yeah.
So the fact that she killed the Witch King and she was out there on the battlefield and she did mighty deeds. No, she failed. She failed to die in battle, in glory, and be in the songs, because that's all she wanted, because that's all she thought she really could achieve. And to add another failure on top of everything else, I mean, the sadness that is flowing out of Éowyn in those first scenes is just palpable to me. And one of the reasons why I love Faramir is because he seems to understand. This is a man who's been through quite a lot himself.
Yeah.
He didn't exactly have Dad of the Year. He loved his brother, and his brother is dead. His mother, long dead. So all he's had really is a brother who's been held up as, this is what you should be like. Why are you not like your brother?
Mm-hmm.
And a dad who, anyway, we'll pass straight over Denethor because I could be here for an hour. But Faramir gets it. He gets her. And one of the reasons why I know that is because of the way in which he uses the word choice when he talks to her. If the White Lady will, if she chooses, if she wishes, it's all about giving her back the power.
Yes.
Or in fact, not giving it to her, but standing back so that she can claim it for herself.
Yes, precisely. I also like this quote that she says to Faramir. She says something like, "Look not to me for healing."
Yeah.
And he also understands that, and that's, the relationship's like amazing.
Yeah. And that's a good thing though, isn't it? Nobody wants somebody who is trying to connect with them because they think you can fix them.
Exactly. Yeah. They can fix each other, but fix themselves on their own. And then,
exactly. Yes. Don't look to me to fix you. I'm too busy trying to sort myself here. That I think is very 2025, actually. Yeah. And this is it, that Tolkien can be read now in very modern ways.
Yes.
And we understand mental health issues. We understand toxic masculinity. We understand a woman living under the eye of Wormtongue and what that's going to do to you. We understand a frustrated woman just trying to be who she wants to be.
Yeah.
And society saying, nope, you get to stay home and make the beds.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's Éowyn. It's always Éowyn.
Oh gosh, that's great answer. Like, she is very relatable to, I think, many women, and very inspirational in, how this her story. And
but it's also hard to understand her character and her role in the book, actually. So I think what Maciek is trying to say is that we will invite you again when it's time to discuss Éowyn.
Hey, no problem. I can talk about Éowyn for hours.
On Éowyn,
yeah, I think that's the plan. but still, I think it's worth to talk about it, about Éowyn, about woman characters in Lord of the Rings, because such a talk like we have now, it's eye-opening for many people. So I think it's worth to talk about it. It's important to talk about it because in our real life, women still have the same problems right now. So
right,
yeah.
Still fine.
I said it. I said it. No, not a woman. I said it. but it is like that. It is like that.
Yeah,
we know about it, and it's worth to talk about it, and because maybe we can change something.
Yeah.
Well, we keep trying, don't we?
Yeah.
You know, I'm still protesting the same old stuff 30 years later. It's kind of annoying, but yes, I honestly think that one of the things I would like to die in a fire is this concept of Tolkien not writing interesting female characters,
Yes.
because he really does. And if you've been skipping over them, that says more about you as a reader than it does about him as a writer.
Exactly.
And we didn't mention Arendis. And she's,
No,
we didn't mention.
Oh boy.
Yeah, her.
There's a character.
And that's the character, yeah.
I don't know if you've been listening to the Prancing Pony podcast, but we have been dissecting Aldarion and Arendis for the last few weeks.
Yeah, I'm not
controversial.
Yeah, but I was listening Prancing Pony podcast till the end of book 6, and now I have a little break, but I'm waiting for the new chapters and appendixes and the next. So
It's so much content to consume.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, but I think that this is what you mentioned, that people often misunderstand female characters in Tolkien. I think this is one of the biggest misconceptions, that there are no about women in Tolkien works. That there are
What the heck?
There are no women or no strong women.
Pay attention. That's what I say. Pay attention, because they're there and they are interesting.
Yeah.
They're always interesting. Even the small peripheral characters like Lobelia Sackville Baggins.
Yes.
She's an awesome character. Go back and look at what she does and
her
what
ending,
she says.
Yeah, so epic.
And understand her a little bit more. You know, it's easy to say, oh, she's this awful hobbit woman who does this, that, and the other. She is, you know, okay,
She would
abrasive.
kick your ass.
Yeah, she's abrasive. She is determined. She actually demonstrates a lot of characteristics that a lot of people would be just fine with if she was male. But she's a woman, so we condemn her for it.
That's true.
Yeah, she wants advancement for her son. She wants this hobbit hole for her son, and feels that, you know, really he should be inheriting it, and sooner rather than later would be great. Please and thank you. Yes, we can say that maybe she's a bit too pushy, but I think she shows her true character at the end when she stands up to Sharky and his men and is thrown in prison for it, because she will not back down.
Yes.
Good for her.
Yeah.
Very good for her.
That's a great moment. That's a great moment.
I think so too.
Okay. I think we are quietly going to the end of our discussion, our interview. I hope it is not last of our interviews.
Oh, ask me back anytime.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you very much.
Yeah, so once again, thank you very much for joining. It was very eye-opening for us to talk to you and, summarizing this chapter.
My favorite chapter. So thank you so much for asking me to come and talk about it.
We will hear us for sure at the chapters about Eowyn. I think at the Battle of Pelennor Fields or
lovely
somewhere
Maybe
around.
Even earlier.
Maybe even earlier.
Like
yes.
I said, just email me. I will be more than happy.
Amazing. And that is the end of today's episode. Thank you very much for your time at the Green Dragon Inn. And remember, we are waiting for your comments and questions. And don't forget to click subscribe and like on our channels.
Notes and other materials used in this episode can be found in the description of the episode on our website. There you can also find our Tolkien collection, a full, very rich library of books and other media we use to create the podcast.
And next week, together with Dominik Wojciechowski and Kacper Pochopin, we will continue the analysis of the Council of Elrond. So see you in the Green Dragon next week.
A little Welsh to finish off first. Diolch yn fawr. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
And as Gandalf said, may the wind under your wings bear you where the sun sails and the moon walks.